Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
Welcome to the October 21st Economic Development Authority meeting. We have, as always, a full agenda, a lot of interesting topics as we move toward the end of this year. Excited about the work that we completed, but even more excited about the work that is ahead of us. I think will certainly have an impact on the city. Before we do the roll call, I am pleased to announce that we have a new commissioner, Mr. C. Ross Morgan, Town Bank, and if he doesn't mind, say a few words.
Well, thank you so much. Good morning. Very excited to be here and be a part of this wonderful board. I know of all the great things that you all are accomplishing within the city, so excited to be joining that. Just to give you a little bit of a background on myself, I've born and raised in Portsmouth, grew up in Waterview and Old Town, and have lived in Churchland the last 20 plus years with my wife and 3 kids. And as Mr. Mitchell said, been with Town Bank a little over 25 years now, and currently serve as the president of our Portsmouth region and our real estate finance group. So excited to be here.
Good. Excited to have you on board. Given that, Brian, we'll do the roll.
Yes, here. Mr. Mitchell,
Here.
Mr. Barber. Here. Mrs. Saunders Smith is absent. Mr. Brown.
Here.
Is also absent. Mrs. Cherry. And Mr. Morgan.
Here.
Chair, we do have a quorum.
Great. I trust that everyone had an opportunity to review the September 15th minutes. I would need for adoption of the minutes.
Second. A motion and second. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none. Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Barber.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Cherry.
Yes.
And Mr. Morgan.
I'll abstain.
Here, the item is approved by a vote of 4-0.
We'll get into the heart of the agenda and we'll start with old business, waterfront development.
Well, good morning again. Pleased to be able to provide you with an update and some progress that has occurred on the waterfront development site, Crawford Bay. We have on the screen here the timeline. And following your September 16th meeting, we did go under contract with our real estate development consultant, AECom. So we are now under contract with them. And we have been coordinating for a kickoff meeting, which will actually occur tomorrow. So the project team, the committee will meet with AECom just to really cover some of the high level aspects of the project, priorities, and goals, and really a vision for what it is that the city of Portsmouth is looking to achieve on the Crawford Bay site. So we did experience some delays, of course, as we were working to procure AECom. So going forward, our schedule is a little bit uncertain at this time. We were really, I think, targeting a end of calendar year date for the RFI issuance to really begin the formal process of soliciting development interest. We're still going to be working towards that, but you may see some shift in that time frame by 30 days or so as we start working with AECom. So this will be really this week. We're going to start the process. There will be many more engagements with AECom as we work towards that issuance date. And we'll also be working to hold some stakeholder engagement meetings as well, so that key stakeholders have involved in the process also. I'm happy to answer any questions about the timeline if you have any. We do have one other update on the waterfront, if we could just advance to the next slide. One of the really key issues with this project has been the need to provide public parking, and specifically for the Harbor Tower community. So one of the things that has been discussed is how we can do that on a temporary basis during the redevelopment process. Our city engineer, Mr. Wright, has worked with their consultant, Kat Panoni, to come up with some conceptual plan for how we can park those vehicles. There are 250 spaces that Harbor Tower is currently under lease for. And we will need to be providing those parking spaces to them throughout the redevelopment process and thereafter. What Benoni was able to do was come up with some layouts using some of the vacant land that is part of the project site, and probably will be the last pieces of properties to be developed. And it looks like we're able to accommodate about 202 of those 250 parking spaces with surface parking. Now that would still leave, obviously, doing the math, 48 vehicles to park elsewhere. So we would look to, accommodate them nearby. I believe the last time we checked, there were about 232 spaces that Harbor Tower is actually leasing. So they're not actively using the 250, but we are obligated to provide those spaces. So we'll be continuing to work through this process, but just wanted to share an update. We've got some layouts here that will also be included in the RFI package so that the development community can understand what their options are, because they will be party to the agreement to provide those spaces.
That's good news, and it's also relatively close to where they are residing, which is could have been wrong. So
It is, and in fact, I think some of those vehicles are currently parking in the Lot C, which is the existing city lot adjacent to the garage, because of the fact some of those vehicles cannot actually enter the over port garage. That'd be the height restriction.
yeah. Okay, we'll move into a discussion around land use and zoning for the Link District.
Chairman, we have Dr. Rhonda Russell with the Planning Department here this morning to present to you all on some of the land use and zoning activities that have been underway as it relates to the ordinance as it exists now, and what the Innovation District Plan recommended in terms of modifications. And I know we've had as a body some fairly in-depth conversations about the types of uses that you would like to see in the district. So Dr. Russell is here and has a presentation to share with you all. And I think we've allotted 30 minutes or so for presentations and dialogue. Beyond that, I think we've got some time for that as well. So Dr. Russell, the floor is
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
But can I approach you asking for some help with the podium, please? With like a strong strategy. Thank you. I'm going to like put that right here. Right? Yes. All right. Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. I am glad to be here. I am so glad to be here that I came here from vacation to meet with you all. Oh, wow. So, about 11 o'clock, I'm gonna be on my way to Rockwood Beach, Delaware.
You may need a vacation after this.
That's because I already, it's in preparation for this meeting, and we were last before you in April of this year. Any of y'all remember that discussion? I'm going to remind you of some of the comments that were made in our question and answer session. And my understanding with from dialoguing with Mr. Donahue is that you really wanted some feedback about implementation or changes to the Innovation District Ordinance, which it is termed today in the Portsmouth zoning ordinance, and now termed the Link District, with emphasis on uses, because that's where we're seeing the most challenges relative to implementation, property development in the corridor. So let me remind you where we were April 11, 2005. I learned very early in my career, don't change our benchmarks for, we're behind. So what I see is not necessary. Oh, give me a look when you. No, look, can I have it? Can I don't have a.
Control it from the desktop.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's Thank you. So don't change your benchmarks when your project originally started. And so when we were here in April, we were actually right on track with respect to presenting to the EDA where we were with our project status. And what I wanted to do at that time is finish our comprehensive plan audit. Y'all remember that discussion? And that until we did that, just respect to resource and staff capacity, we did not have the capacity to start the innovation district plan. While we met that goal, we've fallen behind. We actually just recently finished the comprehensive plan audit. It has been presented by the Planning Commission and accepted and will be shortly presented to our council. The anticipation was by June 2005, we'd be back before our Planning Commission, having engaged in community engagement, stakeholder activity with members of the business community in our downtown area, the EDA, our Planning Commission members, and other parties, and have had an ordinance to present to you by early June 2005. And here we are, October 2005. We're off, and that's okay if we've accomplished our intent. But I would argue that since that time, and since the adoption of the body of work by Benchmark, that we have had some experiences that I believe this body, our council, our planning commissioners want to impact what we propose for the Link District. Those experiences being specifically the Harvard Design School, charrette that Mayor and I participated in, and even more impactful would have been our trip, or is our trip to Greenville, South Carolina, where we were, as I summarized the comments, amazed by the renovation of their downtown area, some of those downtown elements regarding pedestrian access to those corridors, the walkability of the community, and some of those other redevelopment activities. With that in mind, I'm going to go back to this, to the next one. With that in mind, we have some recommendations, planning staff, for how we would move forward. We have a body of work that was completed by Benchmark that has some design element recommendations as well as some land use recommendations. And so the land use recommendations are related to building form, that is pushing those buildings, new buildings, to the front of the right of way. Maximum height of buildings being 100 feet in height, and density no more than 64 dwelling units per acre. We have recommendations for permitted uses, which would be mixed use. On the bottom floor, we would have some retail service-oriented opportunities and residential on top, maker spaces and community kitchens. We have recommendations for prohibited uses, meaning our gasoline sales, vehicle services, crematories, park and ride, some uses that currently exist in the district, which would become non-conforming as a result of adopting the ordinance language as it's currently permitted. There's language in there with respect to access and parking and design intent. And I actually probably should have put this first, because the comments that we received from the coalition that went to Greenville, and even my observations, is that the design intent, with it being pedestrian oriented, very consistent in terms of urban form, facade improvements, and things of that nature. Those are easy early interventions that we could deploy. With that in mind, we have potentially two paths forward, and I'd love to get feedback from this body on how we move forward. Today, we could finalize the draft ordinance language developed in partnership with staff and others by Benchmark. And that language does speak to permitted uses in the district. It does have some design elements and language that are not as comprehensive as the ordinances and the implementation of those ordinances in Greenville, South Carolina. staff's recommendation, because of the concerns that have been shared with me specifically by Mr. Donahue as related to not having control over uses that are going into the corridor, is that we proceed with adopting the current ordinance language as it relates to permitted and prohibited uses. And at a later date, after we've done some community engagement activities around design, and we refine the design elements of the initial draft of order, that we pursue a subsequent amendment of the ordinance to adopt those elements. Should have a timeline, implementation timeline. So, implementation timeline. This is what that would look like. Adopt ordinance to enable the innovation uses. That would be this winter with a work session with the Planning Commission, followed by a public hearing, and then a presentation to council before the end of the year. We could simultaneously engage in the public engagement activity with our EDA, with our council members, with our business owners and prospects in the integration, in the link district regarding those design elements that we want to emulate for new construction. And that would occur by this time next year in terms of adoption. And then immediate implementation of those elements regarding streetscape and public realm projects, signage, public art, things of that nature that we would be implementing in tandem with the RAISE grant. So that would be early 2028. So our recommendation for our next steps are proceed with the ordinance adoption. Form our design advisory groups. Those are our stakeholder groups, and then begin the short-term implementation of some of the design elements for the public spaces. And so I'm interested in, me and Bill, Manager's office, and your feedback on that as an approach, or if you are recommending an alternate approach for how we move forward. We are greatly sensitive to, I don't want to call out any names, but there's specifically a use along the Innovation District corridor where it's storage, active storage, and that is certainly not consistent with the vision, but permitted by the scope of by right uses in the ordinance today. And we recognize that that does need to be immediately addressed, and we're prepared to do that as early as a November work session with our planning commissioners. Mr. Donahue?
Is it possible to distribute your suggested, proposed, and prohibited uses for the district so that we have a chance to review those in detail?
Okay, so let me repeat what I heard. Is it possible to discuss the list of
Distribute. Yeah.
Oh, yes. We
Because
can,
I don't think we have taken any, serious review of those as a board. The staff may have, but I don't think we have as a board.
yes, that's as easy as sharing with you the body of work that was done by Benchmark. Initially, I will email that to Mr. Donahue, the space to share with the EDA members. Yes, sir.
Those currently existing businesses that are considered non-conforming, will they be considered grandfathered in for this?
That's permitted by the Code of Virginia. So non-conforming uses, as long as they don't cease operations for 24 months, can continue.
So how does that address those non-conforming businesses? What options do we have if we have non-conforming businesses? Want to conform.
Mm-hmm. So incentivize their relocation is one option. Purchasing those properties to make them available for redevelopment. But it's a protection of vested rights. And I don't have a law firm looking for it. Protection of vested rights, and in Virginia they've made an investment, and that land is community unless they fall afoul of of non-conforming status, they can continue. Yes, sir.
Would those properties be followed up with, internal code enforcement? So for example, electrical, fire prevention, or so are there some things that we would look inside the facility to make sure they're in code enforcement?
Inside the facility. So when I think about code enforcement from a zoning, it's
Mhm.
exterior improvement. So from that perspective, yes. For redevelopment of property, they would have to come up to code for internal as well as external improvement. So I hope I've answered that question. It's hard to get inside for enforcement unless there is some ask by the property owner.
And that, Sheriff, I may just add, typically for a new use, as part of the business licensing process, there is a requirement that they provide a certificate of occupancy. If the building has not been utilized in that manner previously, and there would be some involvement of the building official's office to ensure that it was up to building code requirements as well. So there's kind of another check in that instance. But however, if it's an existing use that's been there for many years, that may not necessarily require.
I was just thinking, it's an old building, you know, and a lot of those buildings are very old, or they current, and we wouldn't know unless we did a random check or we checked all of them, so. Anyway, that's all we can see.
Just to make this clear about the inspection piece of this or code enforcement piece. Dr. Russell alluded to, we have the right to do, property inspections for the exterior. As long as there's not, some imminent public safety that affects the inside, then we don't have that right. Now, if they desire to make some modifications where they got to do a building permit, then those are inspections that go along with those things. But if they just exist as they exist today, we can attack the outside, but we're very limited on what we can do on the inside.
Just one more question. I know we had a consultant come in and do a lot of work around the innovation district and how the walkways would look. Are we going to leverage some of that, or are we starting anew?
You just want the original work by benchmark?
Right.
I would suggest that if we're directed to move forward with implementation or adoption of the ordinance as early as November in terms of public dialogue about it, that we include the ordinance as it is written, including the design guidelines, with the intent to adopt the new language by the beginning of the year. So with that in mind, we'll leverage some of the work that's already been done. And there's nothing wrong with changing it. It's been a couple of years. We've had some different experiences that we like. A couple of people that, are in the space with me went to Greenville. The mayor and we got a lot of feedback from the Harvard Design School experience that we want to include in this body of work. So if we like it, to activate it, we have to put it into prescriptive ordinance and development guidelines, and we're prepared to do that.
Just one more question, because
What did you want? You're standing between me.
I'm not sure what the Harvard, I'm not sure what the Harvard design work was, but whatever it was, would it be phased in sections? So maybe the first 2 blocks begin to reflect that design complement, or how would that work?
So the ordinance language includes a trajectory of the area for implementation.
Mhm.
We can modify it as we see fit for a phased approach. I think from Effingham, so so once you pass High in Effingham, going towards the connector, that area is in need of significant improvement just because of the widening influence. So my suggestion would be is that we don't face it, that it's it's impactful to the whole, to the entire corridor that's part of the Link District.
Would we make, I'm sorry, can I make a? Would it make more sense to have a phase by time versus distance? So, you know, so you have, you know, for the next 2 years, we're accepting certain things. For the years after that, you're gonna accept certain things. Till you get to the point where, you know, you kind of eradicate everything that you want to versus a certain distance in there.
I'm gonna defer to Jeff, for timing, like, it sounds like maybe a gradual who's subject to these requirements. I've not seen that before, Mr. Carter. Have you seen it?
No, I'm asking questions.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think legally you could phase timing. I think that's legally doable. So it just have to be evaluated from a planning standpoint and effectiveness standpoint.
I guess the question raised to me in terms of there's three sections within the plan. And I guess is there a distinction in the design related to the particular uses or activities that are planned for those distinct areas?
Is there a distinction in the ordinance for those various areas? There's a,
Design elements as well.
certainly with respect to uses there, the design elements, in my opinion, speak to like street activation, height restrictions, those types of things would be consistent along the corridor. And so not necessarily so. I think what we need to add to that, I'll take our Greenville experience, a lot of red brick. And typically when you see red brick, as a planner, it's just very stark and stoic. But Greenville didn't feel like that, right? They had some other masonry products combined with brick and very height lines, things like that, that I would say today our ordinance doesn't address. And if you agree with me that those are elements that we found attractive and want to duplicate, we're going to have to modify the current language to reflect that. So it doesn't accomplish that today, maybe in the maker space, because that's it's kind of an organic experience where entrepreneurs come in and, you know, turnkey and are able to create, you know, create new experiences and services that wouldn't necessarily, that might have a different look because the purpose is different. But those other areas, and I wanted this slide back up, our healthcare area or gateway, the MLK gateway, those elements are unique to the Link District, but they should look the same, like it is, or have similar design elements so that when you arrive, you know you're there. So it's a heightened sense of arrival for that, or this experience.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear on the type of feedback you're looking for from us. So you presented the two kind of paths forward. The current path is to move forward as is. The second path is to revisit the language and put in some of the new concepts, new ideas that were gathered from the Harvard experience and the Greenville trip to be more reflective of some of those new perspectives, new concepts. Okay,
Perfect.
okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for whatever it's worth, I mean, I think, you know, if you don't have the opportunity to take those and, you know, perspectives gained from those experiences and put them into this ordinance, then what was the point? You know, so I think having that visual cohesiveness and it really be reflective of what the city is after in this area is exactly what we should be doing. And that visual cohesiveness really provides the experience to the people in the space. So that would be my take on it.
Thanks, Chair. So
Going back to our discussion at the council retreat, I got the impression that the city engineer is soon ready to proceed with the design work associated with the raise grant and the streetscape. So where does that fit into the implementation timeline? And there has to be a choice made, a direction given to him so that we don't design something and then figure out, in the meantime, we've changed our minds and want to pursue a different path.
So, Mr. Wright, what I took away is that they currently already working on the design. That took away from the messaging from the council retreat. And he, as the project manager, is sensitive to the work in the Lone District and our Greenville experience, will influence those design elements. So this is an informed group, the raise grant, the streetscaping requirements, the biggest challenge being right-of-way acquisition, right? So elements from Greenville specifically is our angled parking, parking off of the main corridor and the landscaping and the public opportunities to stay in place along the Main Street corridor. At some point, that design work is going to have to be presented to a stakeholder group to say, yes, this is what we want, and this is what we're looking for. And that has to happen before they move forward. So I hope I've answered your question. So we're kind of moving forward as parallel, like universes.
Yeah.
With the same goal in mind.
Okay, so you kind of answered the question, but there is a day on the calendar when we get to the fork in the road. Is that a year from
Can I
now?
help you with this a little bit? Based on my project update about the raise grant, we're entering to a 60% design phase now. What that means is just the basic concepts are down. All right. If we're going to modify what that street looks like, all right, we're going to have that done pretty quickly so that those engineers that's designing this project have some idea where we're going. Because otherwise, they're going to design something that looked like what we thought it was going to look like before.
Okay, so you're reinforcing my concern.
Right.
That we're about to the fork in the road and they need some kind of final direction.
Right. So I would say you probably have maybe another month to 2 months to make a decision on what that rural streetscape is going to look like before the pen and paper kind of past that stage where we'll have to pay them to do it again.
Yeah. So we expressed an opinion at the council retreat about some of those key elements that we saw in Greenville, making sure that those made it into the design. Is that the final answer, or is there some other final answer that we have to, this group needs to be involved in, the council needs to be involved in? What's the mechanism to get past the fork in the road, I guess my question.
Well, the mechanism that the designers need is a decision to be made.
Yeah.
Now, the general concept, hey, we want to move like Greenville, and that doesn't give them something that they can work with.
Right.
Right. So what the designers are going to need is, right, we want slanted parking, we want wide sidewalks, we want, plants and those kinds. You got to tell them specifics, not generalities.
I'm tracking.
So at some point, again, within the next probably 60 days, we got to say, yes, we want wide sidewalks. Yes, we want slanted parking. So that has to be a decision point. I said that decision point has to happen probably within the next 60 days.
And who is the we that has to say that?
Exactly. There's going to be a presentation on the 27th to the council about this same thing.
Okay.
The 28th, I think, one of those days. But anyway, we're talking to this group today. We need some input from you. We're going to talk to the council at the next work session. We need some input from those guys. And what we'll do is we'll try to synthesize the words that we hear and give some directions to the designers from that.
But so I think what I'm hearing is you want input from the EDA today on some of those design elements.
That would be best. But even when we do this next month, you don't have to have everything decided today. But you got to start leaning towards something. Because there's going to be a point where either Dr. Russell or our city engineer, or I'm going to say, hey guys, today's the day. I need a decision. Okay.
We had not had an opportunity to review in detail the raise, where they design features now. So,
Right. That's why I said I don't think I need a decision today. She's decided, or she's committed to sharing the documents with this group so that you have an opportunity to digest what's there now. And those that didn't make the Greenville trip, you're going to have to take some other people's word for what it looks like. You know what I mean? But I think matter of fact, I know some of this board was there. So
yeah.
I have shared that document with Mr. Donahue to share with members of EDA. We'll certainly share it with the council. Can you go to slide 10, please? That's good. That slide. So what I'm hopeful that we will have an opportunity to do. So these are pictures gathered about the Greenville experience. And I want to have an opportunity with all stakeholders, EDA members, council members. They don't even have to be separate meetings. We could do one meeting with stakeholders involved, where we go through this exercise. It's a design exercise where you see a picture and it's like, I like that picture, I don't like that picture. And then it's facilitated about, well, what is it that you like about that picture? And I like the facade that has a lot of windows or a lot of brick in combination with CMU products, those types of things. And then as the trained ear, planners with legal support will take what you like and put into that ordinance language. And so, I've used this professionally, but it works for me well when I'm choosing paint color, right? What does your eye gravitate to first, right? Because that's probably what you like the most. Our time frame for today does not permit that exercise. I do feel like, based on your feedback and Mr. Barber's feedback, that we need to engage in that so that we feel or believe that we confidently know what your preferences are and that we can put those prescriptively in language going forward, that any new development opportunities would reflect those preferences.
So will we try to balance between honoring existing buildings and trying to maintain their character, but also trying to introduce new technology? So for instance, signage. There's multitude of ways of signage, but we've often talked in this group about could you have interactive signage? So if I'm on the street, I could hit restaurants and it displays the restaurants, displays the venues. Is there going to be an attempt to kind of merge those two concepts together, old and new, and leveraging so that there's some unique characteristics about Portsmouth that maybe other cities are offering at this point that makes the ability to be walkability, but also the ability to inform people in an interactive way, all the things that are available to them within the Lake District, or within Old Town, et cetera.
The quick answer is yes. That we have the opportunity to address that in the proposed revisions for the ordinance. What I didn't hear you say, and I'm going to assume that was in your comments, is we want continuity as well in the design package and the design elements along the corridor of the existing signage. Unless it's replaced, we have to live with it. But for new development opportunities, absolutely. We should have consistency in design. We should have the inclusion of some new elements. We have a tech zone that should represent some of that. Mr. Mitchell, Mr. Donahue, any other questions?
Other questions of the group?
One more. We, obviously, we don't own all the buildings, but we also have quite a few open spaces that we own. Is there any discussion around how do we leverage those open spaces until we find a developer or if someone comes in and put a structure there? Is that part of the conversation at all?
It's not part of the conversation around ordinances. It is part of the conversation, around redevelopment of the corridor, but there's no, stronger leverage to how those properties are developed by owning it, because, with ownership, you control when it's let, when it's sold, and then how it's sold, like for what purposes. You can, and you all are all aware of these tools, incentivize development of the property based on, discounting the sale of it, or, there are any number of different ways that you can encourage development of your vacant pieces in a manner consistent with what is desired in the district and what the EDA and the council want.
So, I can just, share in some of my conversations with, members of the board and specifically, Mr. Harmon, who, fortunately wasn't able to join the conversation today. There's been some discussion about, the creation of, temporary, pocket parks and open space within the district with amenities. And I think that's something looked at, for 1020 High Street, even to see how we can somehow activate that space while we, look to recruit a developer to come in and redevelop the property. There's some good examples of how that can be done. In Norfolk, at the site of the Hilton Main Hotel, at one point in time, there was a temporary park, and container park is actually what it was, while that site was in the pre-development process. Those structures then moved to Norfolk's Neon District, where they have a very similar installation. So it's a pocket park there that they use for community events. And that's something that we're looking at. Would probably need a architect or somebody to help us kind of plan that. But the idea would be to have some temporary installations at a minimal cost until the space can be sold through the purpose. So that is something we've looked at. I think we've also have a consultant or somebody helping us with that planning process.
Any additional questions?
I just have a quick question. The streetscape design, that conversation is separate than the ordinance, correct? Or is that?
You're talking about race? When you say
Yeah,
streetscape, you're talking about the race grant?
Well, the engineers are designing the streetscape for the raised grant, but that wouldn't be included in the ordinance language.
It's not included in the ordinance language. I believe that Mr. Hugel's comments relative to the streetscape design is that the design that is going forward, that is at least 60% complete, is not based on the feedback that we gleaned from our Greenville experience. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. So that sooner than later, we should address that, or we'll have to live with what we were happy with a few years ago, but we're more informed today.
Yeah, there was a concept for that streetscape embedded in the Innovation District plan from the consultant that helped us to assemble the Innovation District plan. But that concept is not the same as what we saw in Greenville, and what we concluded from what we saw in Greenville was maybe a better plan than the concept that's in the innovation plan now. And so my hope is that we aren't designing what we're not going to use, but instead are informing the designers with the direction we want them to go, so that we only design once.
So, Mr. Mitchell and Mr. Donahue, I would like to know, pretty prescriptively how you would like planning to move forward. If we move forward with adoption of the current ordinance language that was developed with benchmarking staff. We would start that as soon as our November planning commission meeting, which would occur before we could see you all again because we do a work session with them. So that question about the two paths forward, are you in agreement that that's how we should proceed?
I can't speak for everyone. I would be in agreement. I can go around real quickly and see what your thoughts are quickly.
What,
You're asking, are we in agreement with you moving forward as it currently stands, or are we suggesting or recommending that you move forward with implementing the new ideas that you gleaned from the Greenville and Harvard experience? Is that what you're asking?
So the two paths forward slide, please. Just slide 8. We move forward with the adoption of the ordinance as it's currently proposed. And in tandem, we start developing a revision to that ordinance to include the design elements that we will engage in a stakeholder thread about preferences and our desires for what elements we want to see in Portsmouth can reasonably be implemented in Portsmouth, with the intent that a revision to that ordinance would come forward January 2026.
That's option A.
Option A, adopt the current language. Option B, design refinement language that would be adopted later, but not much later, less than 6 months.
At least my opinion is that we had talked about an innovation district or a link district committee of this body. And I think it would be appropriate to have the committee to review the current language prior to your November meeting and then provide any feedback that we may have based upon that review. Because I don't think I, as a member, have not dealt in detail on the existing draft language as being proposed.
Yeah, I understand you're being kind of asked to do a process here somewhat blindly because you haven't seen the information, but I think that
I think
there's an ability to move forward with the two-phase approach that Dr. Russell was presenting, which will circulate that information for you to review. But the second part of the process, I think, allows for modifications and amendments as well as those design.
right, but but as a group, we need to be able to have a process by which
Yes.
we submit recommendations. And what you're saying is, and let me just repeat, we have an opportunity now in a very short period of time to give a recommendation. And we have an opportunity to refine or change those recommendations for a midterm. So we as a body, if we wish to make recommendations now, we need to have a process by which to do that.
Yes. To your three of your questions. I think that once the document goes out, what we'll look to do is set a deadline for your responses back with your feedback on what has been proposed. And then we can forward that information to the planning department for them to kind of scrub and compare to what has been recommended. And whether or not that's incorporated, you know, I don't want to speak for Dr. Russell, but whether it's incorporated in option A or whether it's incorporated later on in option B, for that second part, I think there's still opportunities.
Yeah, but okay. So that sort of resolves that process, but I think, don't we have another process issue regarding department, the engineering thing of the raised design features of the streetscape?
Yes.
Okay. Will there be, what is the process that you would suggest if we use to have feedback into that design element?
I would say it would be the same, the committee that you have formed as a body to discuss matters pertaining to the link, having those conversations as part of that committee. Unfortunately, two of the three EDA members who were present on the Greenville trip are not here for this conversation. So I think it would be helpful to get their input, share their experience, so that you can make recommendations to city council of like what you'd like to see.
But that needs to be done relatively quickly.
It sounds like very quickly.
I have a question. Dr. Russell, you mentioned that you had maybe a non-conforming use coming before you. How's that gonna impact the timeline? Because right now they have a by right pretty much development that's coming before you. So if that's not in place, how would that impact your decision?
So, the draft ordinance, for prohibited uses, 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 5, development of drive-through facilities, convenience stores and gasoline stations, gasoline supply, single-family detached dwellings, park and ride facilities. So once the ordinance is adopted by council, any of those uses along the corridor become non-conforming. And so your question is, how do we deal with them?
Right, I thought you had one that was coming before you, for a facility that's not.
No, there's one that I'm aware of, that where it was a purchase, and it's the property is valuable because of the size of the property. That's used for primarily storage, right? And they're not doing anything wrong because it's a permitted by right use.
Right.
That would continue in perpetuity unless the property is redeveloped, so.
Can the redefinement elements from option B be amended to option A?
Also do the design first.
Yeah, can we adopt the current draft language and then whatever elements that we garnered from the Greensville trip be added to the current language as an amendment, or just amended to the
Like, so first, our planning commission meeting is like the first week of the month. So we have what, 9, 10 days left this month. I just don't think there's time to.
Oh, if we move and adopt the first draft, right? At some point after that draft is adopted, once we make a decision on what elements we want to add from Greensville, can that be added to the one that's already adopted?
Yes, that's what I think we're saying the same thing.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
yes.
No.
Thank you. If my opinion matters, I would think that Commissioner Brown, right? Commissioner Brown, I think that would kind of be more the direction, because I think we need to understand too, we keep saying what Greenville is, but Greenville didn't become this overnight. It was 30 years. And so we could be taking 30 years to plan out something that they didn't, you know? So I think to move forward the direction, and as time goes and design change, because what is hot today in design may not be hot in 2029. So I think it'll be good to just adopt what option A is, and then over time, add amendments to it. No one to save time, but also I think be the most cost-effective thing as well.
And property is selling very quickly in Portsmouth.
Absolutely.
So if we don't get in front of that, we're gonna end up with the same situation when somebody buys something and they're able to have something that we don't want to be in that facility. So I'm in favor of option A as well.
There's a definite urgency to have something in place.
Absolutely.
Dictate what occurs in the district.
I don't think we should delay the process just to add the stuff that we saw in Greensville into it. If so, if we like that that much, we should be able to amend the original.
Right, I'm hearing move forward. And we will do so in November.
But Dr. Russell, we will work to circulate the information we provided and set a deadline for getting responses back from this body so that you can include that in any planning preparatory work for planning commission. Yeah, we'll work over the next week to hopefully get a consensus on what everybody's immediate desires are for that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Russell.
Thank you, Steve.
Next up is property update.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I am very excited to give this report today because we have made actual progress. Yay. Okay. For the first property update, 1028 High Street, which also includes 1013 and 1015 Queen Street, 400 Hatton. The bid package for the demolition of these three buildings has been posted. Yay. Okay. This has been a long time coming, guys. So we are excited that the package has been posted and it will be open until November 18th. There will be a pre-bid conference next week at the site. And we do still plan to schedule a separate contractor to cap the water and sewer to facilitate obtaining the building permit or the demolition permit. So we're moving right along on 1021 Park Street. Any questions? Oh,
Julie, can you share what is the close date on that bid?
November 18th. Yeah, at 10 o'clock. Okay, so 1117 and 1121 High Street. This has not been posted for bid yet. However, I think that we are on the right track to getting that posted. Definitely before your next meeting. I'm hoping by the end of this week. And we were hoping to have a member of the city's procurement team here, but unfortunately they had a conflict. But that hopefully I will have exciting news for you guys on that at the November meeting. And for 1220 High Street, also great news. We did receive the construction documents from the contractor or from the consultant earlier this month. And so those are currently with the pertinent city departments under review. And then this will be another project that will eventually go out for bid. And we are on track with our timeline that we created for this project. So I think the deadline or the estimated completion date for the city review, we had estimated to be November 29th. So we're on track and we actually received the construction documents ahead of the estimated schedule. So that's good news. Oh, and along with the construction documents, we also did receive a cost estimate for the renovation work and the roof replacement that is proposed. Oh, wait, we go back. Thank you. Proposed for this building, and that came out to $563,000 for $212 per square foot. Okay, for 934 High Street, we're working to get the utilities set up. I am meeting with our public utilities team this afternoon to get the water restarted and hoping to get a call from Dominion to have their technician turn on the light. Yes, and then so once we have the utilities, we do plan on coordinating with the EDA to visit the site or the building. Any questions about the property updates? Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Fine.
Chairman, we've got a really quick update on the entertainment district. So we were scheduled last week. I believe the group is aware we were scheduled for a groundbreaking on the 15th. Unfortunately, that was postponed to some scheduling conflicts. But I can assure you that the construction is moving forward. They've actually broken ground several months ago, so that is a active construction site at this time. There may be another event in advance for ribbon cutting, which is planned for the fall of next year. So stay tuned on that, but the project is moving forward without delay. The next item is that we have on the list is a trip to Schenectady, New York, to visit the casino there. And we're just coordinating with the Rush Street team and the mayor's office on what those dates might look like. So we will certainly communicate those to you. It's really turning into a mixed-use community anchored by the casino. So I think somewhat along the lines of what you're envisioning here in Portsmouth has been achieved in Schenectady. So we'd like to take a visit there and see how they do. So stay tuned. We'll have some dates and follow-up information for you here very soon. Are there any questions about the entertainment district that I can answer for you today?
Business.
We have additional progress to share on the small business loan program. We are under contract. It was actually executed following your September meeting. So we are now under contract with Bridging Virginia. In the time since the EDA's last meeting, we've had multiple meetings with Bridging Virginia to really begin crafting the loan program parameters, as well as some of the processes for loan processing and underwriting as well. So those are being finalized now. We are looking to have those ready for your approval on November 18th at your next meeting. And that would be followed by launch of the program in December of this year. So we're on track to meet that date. And we will be coordinating with the Small Business Loan Committee in advance to just make sure that those parameters are aligned with what your expectations are. The FY26 Port Host Community Grant. I wanted to provide you an update on where we stand. The item was approved at your September meeting for the submittal of an application to the Department of Housing and Community Development for the property we were just discussing at 1117, 1121 High Street for a funding request of $480,000 through the Port Host program. The deadline for the submission of the application was actually pushed back by the state to the end of October. So they gave us a little bit more time to refine that. So it is still under development, but we will be submitting that the coming weeks and would expect to have an answer by late December, early January on the award of that grant. Are there any questions about the Port Host grant application? Chair, we do have two new business items. The first is just a real quick recap on the High Street Fest, which was held in Old Town on Saturday this past weekend. Amazing turnout. I saw several of you there at the event. We certainly did much better with the weather this year. It was perfect. I think that helped with that turnout that we saw. It is, I think, an opportunity for us to continue showcasing our Old Town community and some of the progress that's been occurring there. It was, I think, something that was appreciated by the businesses as well as the visitors to the community as well. Just some preliminary feedback in terms of retail sales. It's been communicated and relayed to staff that for the restaurants that were reporting out, It was their highest grossing day of sales in their history for many of the businesses along High Street. The Portsmouth Partnership and Ports Events are going to be coming before you at your November meeting with some hard data that they have been working to assemble. They're utilizing a program called Placer AI, which tracks cell phone data so they can determine how many visitors were there at the fest, as well as where they came from and where they went to following the event. So they will be here in November to provide you a really deep dive into the event, but it certainly helped to build on the success of last year's event that Ms. Bailey worked to set up. And it just really kind of carried it forward. I do believe there's a desire from the community to have this type of event happening more frequently. I believe the partnership is interested in making that happen as well. And there were obviously many of you who were there at the festival, so you may have your own experience and feedback to share, but I thought it was a really great day. And really kind of a diverse offering and crowd that was present.
Ports Event is a private organization or city controlled?
It's a private entity, so it's a nonprofit.
Okay.
Which is, I think, operated by the Portsmouth Partnership.
It's a big win for the city. I mean, not only for businesses, but economically, people did great numbers. When I was there, I always like to walk around and ask people, what's your feelings about Portsmouth? And 90% of the people saying, wow, I didn't know it was this nice over here. And it's really nice. I'm going to be coming back every year. So it's just a great program. And it's obvious that the more festivals we have, they generate good vibes for the city, but they also work well for the businesses as well. So good.
That was actually, Malcolm, that was my number one takeaway from Greensville, is because they had a lot of traffic in the downtown area from different events that was going on. They had a lot of event centers there and a lot of events going on. So a lot of traffic, overspill, visiting the restaurants and staying in the hotels. So events were like a main contributing factor to the population or the increase in activity downtown. They had a lot of stuff going on in Greensville.
Yeah, I think well, it was certainly a Portsmouth event with a Portsmouth theme and a Portsmouth flavor. It was a Hampton Roads audience, and even went beyond that. There were many that I spoke to that were from out of state and really had really positive things to say about their experience in Portsmouth. So it really, I think, captured a really wide audience. And I know that, the city's marketing department was really promoting it as well through social media, using our marketing firm Davis. So, I mean, the reach really went quite far. So certainly, I think we'll win. And your investment was really the enabler for the event to happen. Thank you for that. Well, I just need to say, Mr. Harmon, your timing is impeccable because this next item involves yourself and Mr. Cherry. We have two honorees from the Inside Business Top 40 Under 40 event, which will be held on October 28th. And this is a recognition of those individuals in the Hampton Roads community under 40 who are doing pretty amazing things. I'm not aware of any instance where we've had two members of the same organization that are receiving that honor. So congratulations to the two of you for that and for the work that you're doing on behalf of not just Portsmouth, but Hampton Roads.
I would just like to add that, any organization has to have good bench strength. Also, you have to recognize when it's time to move on. And when you move on, you hope that you have people who can step up and do that work. I've been impressed with both of these individuals. They both have different management styles, but they're both very influential. Ms. Cherry is a quiet thinker, but when she speaks, she's very detailed and stuff that she talks about and certainly makes a strong contribution to the board. Mr. Harmon is always enthusiastic. He brings a historical perspective on a lot of stuff that he talks about. And he also has been an extraordinary addition to the board. We are fortunate to have you two. I hope you stay with us for a long time, but I am convinced that wherever you go, you're going to make a significant accomplishment. And we are delighted to have you with us. So, yeah.
EDA will be sponsoring this event. In fact, we are going to be doing some advertisement to further recognize both of you being recognized as honorees. But in addition to that, there is an opportunity to attend the gala event on the 28th. So if you could please let us know if you have an interest in doing that. We do have some seats and look to accommodate. So certainly, Camille and Joe, we want to make sure that you have the ability to have your friends and family there in attendance as well. So if you could please just let me know if you would like to attend the event. The details are here on the overhead, but we'll help to coordinate that. Thank you.
Okay, we'll close the meeting.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we go into closed meeting pursuant to code section 2.23711 A.3 for the purposes of discussing the acquisition of real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. Specifically regarding strategic acquisitions and pursuant to B, code section 2.23711A.6 for purposes of discussion, investment of public funds where competition or bargaining is involved, where if made public initially, the financial interest of the governing unit would be adversely affected, specifically regarding this merge program.
Second.
A second, is there any discussion on the item? Hearing none, Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Barber? Aye. Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry?
Yes.
Mr. Harmon? Yes. And Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Here, the item is adopted by a vote of 6-0. We are now in a closed meeting.
And only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting just concluded.
Second that.
Motion and a second. During discussion, hearing none, Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Barber? Barber?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Cherry?
Yes.
Mr. Harmon?
Yes.
And Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
The item is adopted by a vote of 6-0. We are now back in an open meeting. The next item is items submitted by board members.
Oh, yeah, one item, as you know, we get about $400 from a billboard on our property. And we were asking commissioners to come forward if there was a small organization they may have been involved with that we can make a small contribution to. We have not done that in a while. I'm probably up to maybe 2,400. So at the next meeting, if you come across an organization that small amount of funding might make a difference for them, you will bring that to the board and we'll vote on it. It's going.
Hearing no other items,
I have a question.
there we go.
What can we do as a body to support Parks and Recreation, Portsmouth Parks and Recreation?
Can you expand on that a little bit? I'm just trying to figure out how.
Like facility improvement. The boxing gym over there and at the Sportsplex, yeah, the city park, certain things in city park, this facility improvement
Um, Traditionally, the Parks and Rec needs are incorporated into their capital improvement plan. But I can certainly ask the director if there's something beyond that that may be necessary. I think if there's opportunities for sponsorship, that's an easy one. I'm not sure if that's something that would be of interest or maybe there's a need, but we can certainly ask if there's some need for additional.
Let me ask, do some of the events, are they supported or sponsored by Parks and Rec? And two, is the tourism function under the Parks and Rec?
No, they removed it.
They did?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Malcolm's statement about I don't know if they're a charity or 501c, but the Portsmouth has a youth boxing team that works out of that. They don't have enough equipment. They don't have like the gloves, uniforms and stuff to go to tournaments. So I thought if we could, as a body, do something to help support Parks and Recreation or an element of Parks and Recreation, it might be something to look into.
Is that league under Parks and Rec or is it a nonprofit?
I found out, it's not nonprofit, it's a city league. Portsmouth, boxing team.
Maybe that could go into what we just talked about. I'm not sure how that works about the advertisement.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we can certainly make the ask. I'm sure there's a need somewhere, right? So we'll make the inquiry and I can come back to you at your next meeting and let you know what that's.
Some golf cart upgrades at City Park.
Tennis court.
Well, that's actually, yeah, that's actually been tabled. It's been condensed. There's still some minor upgrades that will be happening at City Park. But not like the full-fledged ask because they've repositioned to the sportsplex build out.
Well, I want to give a shout out to the city's maintenance crew that comes out there and takes care of the park. They do an excellent job maintaining the way the park looks, but there's some things out there that could use improvement. They do a great job keeping it clean, keeping it manicured, and but there's still some things out there that could use improvement. So.
I think when they come in and, set up the stages and some of the things like that, they do a fantastic job.
They do.
When the event is over with, they're Johnny on the spot, they clean it up.
They do. They need acknowledgement for that. So
We'll come back in your November meeting and
okay.
provide. Or sooner. Chair, we do not have any report backs. I think we've shared all our updates during the course.
Given that, I appreciate everybody's participation in the meeting. This meeting is now over.